Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees, the podcast. Well, surprise, surprise, Aaron Judge voted the 2025 American League MVP, winning his third there. I thought this was going to be Judge all the way and seemed like it would be, but again, this, if I break down the voting there, it was actually a little closer than we thought, but nevertheless, Judge winning his third MVP, so congratulations to the Yankee captain, and to no surprise at all, over in the NL, Shohei Ohtani racking up his fourth MVP, but again, this is going to all be about Aaron Judge because he's our guy, and this is a Yankees podcast, but congratulations to both, but we'll focus on Aaron Judge. Again, the consensus was he was going to win it. There was very little argument for Cal Raleigh other than edge Judge with the home runs, a switch hitter, and of course, just the brutalness of playing catcher all season and still producing those numbers there where, you'd give him a break on certain things, but overall, just all the statistics was really in Judge's favor, so I'm not surprised at all. So we'll get into the whole thing, but before we get started, make sure you subscribe to this podcast. Section 420 Talkin Yankees, the podcast, wherever you get your favorite podcast. There's also a YouTube version of the show. Not updated maybe as frequently as this, but you like to see me, why not? See my face talk and do some funny cold opens for the year. So make sure you go to YouTube, search for Section 420 Talkin Yankees, and subscribe there as well. So this was the whole week of MLB awards. They did the Rookie of the Year, Manager of the Year, and again, the final and last one, of course, the most important one we were waiting on was the MVP. Last week the Yankees got their Silver Slugger, and Judge got, of course, one of those as well there. So, yeah, it's been a couple of good weeks for Judge, but I'm sure, the way he is, and I'm sure he would trade that all in again for, again, a shot at the World Series, but unfortunately, he'll have to do that next year. But, I guess we'll keep this on here cheery there. So, Judge, this will be his third, so he's the 13th player to do that. Joins the likes of Joe DiMaggio, Yogi Berra, Mickey Mantle. And really, it's just kind of like, just maybe because we just take him for granted there, but just in soaking his moment. I mean, there's tremendous seasons he's been putting up. It's just sad that, unfortunately, none of them done it in a championship way. And I feel like, unfortunately, it might be an A-Rod situation where, like, maybe finally gets into one of these World Series, whether it's next year or the year after. Probably tees off and does great and will get his one ring and that'll be it, which, it's kind of just sad just for the talent he is and playing for the Yankees. And, even though they say that, well, the Yankees don't spend like the Dodgers do, but still it's the Yankee organization. They can't get enough of a championship team around this guy to get him a couple more rings there and kind of wasting his greatness. But nevertheless, again, this is the DiMaggio, Babe Ruth of our time there. It's just kind of hard to say that, but this guy, like, just like, again, a bad season for him is like under 60 home runs there, so it's just kind of crazy how this is all going on. But nevertheless, in terms of the voting, and it wasn't exactly slam dunk as kind of Steve Phillips said there. If you watch any of the MLB Network pre-award ceremony, there were pre-game, whatever you want to call it there. So Judge got a total of 355 points, got 17 of the 30 votes in the first round, and that edged Cal Raleigh, who got 335, so he got 20 points less than Judge, and got 13 of the 30 votes. So, again, Judge getting a majority of four first-round votes, and again, 20 points overall to win the award. Again, a little closer than I would think it would be, and just kind of compare to that, he won unanimously last year, the 2024 one, first-round unanimous MVP winner. This one, he had to edge out Cal Raleigh a little bit. And again, there's always these things like, well, if you won a few already, and they may want to give it to a different guy. But again, if you watch some of the MLB Network, it shouldn't really matter what someone did in previous seasons. It's like, all right, who's the MVP this season? I don't care. If they won it before, then good for them. If not, it should be who's the best player, and again, who's the most impressive and overall. Again, even though Cal Raleigh had the edge on the home runs and maybe someone on the random category, all the other major other categories was like overwhelming in Judge's favor. 331 batting average. Again. Raleigh was way under 300 there. Judge at 331, and Judge leading the majors in on-base percentage, slugging percentage, on-base plus slugging, intentional walks, and just to go show that you had a graphic up there. I mean, Judge got more intentional walks than some teams combined. I mean, that's just dominating the game, Babe Ruth style, Michael Jordan style. This is dominating the game. And if you wanted to look specifically at the AL, since this is the AL MVP, led with runs with 137, walks with 124, extra base hits with 85, and total bases with 372. So he just dominated so many categories that it'll be just hard to refuse. And be interesting, again, who voted for whom, why, for those reasons there. I mean, I would say Raleigh should put up a good fight. Again, you would have to consider this the fact that doing that from the catcher position and doing it as a switch hitter, that's very different. We've never seen a season like that in baseball before. But again, Judge's numbers overall, just with that, it shouldn't have been that close, but nevertheless it was there. But still, Judge well deserving of the 2025 MVP. And just look at it, he's 34 right now. Also, just before I even get into that, I mean, he did miss some time with the right elbow flexor, so he's on the IL for a little bit. So he lost a couple of weeks. Imagine if he didn't have that situation, probably would have then surpassed Cal Raleigh and maybe even challenge his own American League, 62 home runs that he hit in 2022 there. So, given the fact that Judge lost some time there, by only reason that Raleigh had a couple of statistical categories better than Judge, but other than that, with even Judge spending that time on the IL, still able to put together an MVP type season, and there's no really signs of him slowing or breaking down in any way there. Just seemingly that no problem with that elbow, so didn't need off-season surgery on it. So if he regains the strength, it doesn't seem any reason why he would slow down and be as good as he can be. Whereas someone like Raleigh is probably, I don't think you will ever get a season like that out of him again. This might have been sort of a bit of a one-hit wonder. He's had a really good season there where, Judge consistently of putting up these seasons back-to-back. And the only reason he didn't do it in 2023 is because he went through that wall at Dodger Stadium there and kind of fractured the toe. But other than that, you pretty much get these kind of seasons out of Judge every year. It doesn't really seem like any situation where he's going to slow down. So, maybe he has another one or two more MVPs left in him. Let's see that. Or just, even if he doesn't get the MVP, just have a fantastic season. That's also worth mentioning. And again, to switch NL with Ohtani, his fourth, obviously Judge will have to play catch up to catch him, but he trails Barry Bonds right now who had a total of 7. He holds the record for most MVPs at 7 there, but obviously there's some allegations going on. So if Ohtani wants to catch him, he at least needs 3 more in. Again, same thing with him, mid-30s, and doesn't see any situation he's slowing down. I mean, guy cranked 55 home runs this season, and hard to see that he's not going to win another couple of himself there, so maybe he does challenge Bonds for Ohtani. So we got a repeat of what we had last year. It was Judge and Ohtani last year, and this year was Judge and Ohtani again. Just unfortunately, they weren't able to lock up in the World Series for a bit of the rematch. So that's it in terms of the MVP voting, in terms of a kind of any off-field news like that. Looks like there's a bit of a kind of a pre-winter meeting thing going on in Vegas right now. I mean, Vegas, this is where the announcements were made. So doing some reading today, looks like Cashman, he had some personal issues, so actually stayed back in New York, but sent Kevin Reese from player development and a couple of the Yankee officials out there to sort of mingle a little bit with some GMs. So it looks like there was some pre-conversations going on. The winter meetings this year are going to be in Orlando. That's probably when you see like the really important meetings of maybe perhaps some deals getting done or some groundwork being laid there. But I guess the early indications from Cashman and the Yankees team out there is that there is seemingly interest of re-signing Cody Bellinger. So they would like to. Now, whether they could put the money or years that he wants there, that remains to be seen. But it seems like they do want to retain him. They are sort of looking at also right now. They want to see what Trent Grisham has to do. Again, he has about a couple of days left to if he wants to accept that qualifying offer of $22 million, or if he wants to hit free agency. And there's also rumors that perhaps maybe some teams are offering the Yankees some offers to try to get Ben Rice to pry them from the Yankees. I just don't see that happen. I think Ben Rice. He took some steps this season there. Obviously, had a 22 home run season. Didn't get much in the postseason there. I think they may want to just give him a shot as a full-time first baseman. I know they kind of did the platoon situation with Goldschmidt and him, which you can understand. He was kind of a, rookie coming back there where, he came up originally with the Yankees, came on fire there. Then his batting average severely dropped and, kind of had to sort of rediscover himself. And again, he had a successful 2025 season. And now I think you feel to the point where you're comfortable enough where maybe you make him as your first time, full-time first baseman. I know he was kind of platooning a little bit there at the catcher position. I don't know if that's really where they want him long term. You still have Wells there, and defensively, Wells might be the bit of the better defensive catcher. You just like him, maybe have a little bit of a higher batting average there. But I can see a situation where they may want to go full-time, Ben Rice full-time first base and just see how he handles it and, not have a platoon situation. I think he kind of earned that right there. So, if I'm a Yankee, I always listen to an offer. You don't know what they're going to offer you. But I don't think the Yankees are looking to move from that. And the last little bit nugget, there's really been no discussion of extending Jazz Chisholm Jr. Beyond the 1 year he has left on his current deal. I think the Yankees like him, but I don't see him in the long-term Yankee plans. I know he does a lot of good things. He has the power. He had the 30-31 home season. He brought home a Silver Slugger. All well and good there, but I'm not sure if that's the guy you want a cornerstone to give a long-term deal there. So I could just very well see him just play this next year out in a Yankee uniform, and then they let him walk there and either, maybe get someone else for free or just maybe develop someone in-house and have them at the second base. I just don't know if they look for Jazz as the type of player you want to lock long-term there. So I wouldn't expect the Yankees want to look for anything beyond 2026 with him. But again, I can see them liking Bellinger. Just for the flexibility he has, his mannerism, professionalism. He does